The stitch we're going to demonstrate today is called a coral stitch. It is a very nice outlining stitch to go around your applique pieces. It's not too heavy, but it's just a fun little stitch other than your standard back stitch for outlining pieces. But we're also going to do, in addition to a regular coral stitch, we're going to demonstrate how to add a bead to that stitch, which is really fun. This is the coral stitch. This is without beads. Obviously, this is with beads. But it's just a really nice little series of knots and horizontal stitches that is used for outlining a project. I'm using a number 24 chenille needle and a number 8 pearl cotton. And it's a beautiful eleganza pearl cotton that has a lot of color variation in the thread. So I am a right-handed stitcher, so I will be going with this stitch, I'm going to be going from left to right. So if you're left-handed, you would be going from right to left. So first of all, we'll just do a basic coral stitch. So you bring your needle up into the background on the outside of the applique piece. And I'm going to be working below the applique piece. With some stitches, you're working above the piece. I'm going to be working below. So I brought my thread up. Now I'm going to go over and just about a quarter of an inch, and I'm going to take just a little stitch, a little bite out of the background and out of the applique piece. So it's a very small vertical stitch, but I'm taking just a little bit from both the background and the applique piece. Then I'm going to wrap this emerging thread behind the needle, and then I'm going to hold on to that wrap. I'm going to pull my thread through, and what you've done is you've just made a small little knot. Now, if I did this little bite only in the background and not with the background and the applique piece, you would likely be able to see some of the background coming through between the applique piece and the thread. So that's why you want to take your little bite both from the background and the applique piece, wrap it around behind. That's a counterclockwise wrap. Pull your thread through and tighten up that knot. So if you used a thicker thread, a number 5 thread, you would be able to see the knots a little bit better, but this is still a fun little stitch to outline your applique pieces. Take a little bite out of both the background and the applique piece, wrap counterclockwise over the top of your needle, and then pull it through and tighten up your thread. I'll do one more. Just take a little bite out of each.
How do we know if we're pulling it too tight?
Well, you want to tighten up. Thanks, Rachel, for that question. You want to make sure that you are tightening up your knot. Otherwise, it will be loose. But when you come over to make that little bite, you don't want to pull it so that it pulls your wool in. Tension is very important with so many stitches in embroidery. You want it to lay flat against flat on the wool. You don't want to pull it too tight, but you also don't want it to sag. So you just want to just have the tension just so that it lays that thread nice and flat against the applique piece. And then when you pull that knot, pull it nice and tight. So did that help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to add a bead to it. What I like about this beaded stitch, and I don't do a lot of beaded stitches in my work, but if you'll notice on my little stitching example here, the holes of the bead are looking at you. So instead of the bead being on edge, the bead is laying flat with the hole. And I think that looks like it makes a really, really cute beaded stitch. So with my beaded coral, I have my thread coming up. I'm going to add a bead to the needle. Then I'm going to take my little bite out of the background and the applique piece, and then I'm going to do my wrap around the back of the needle, and then I'm going to pull it through, and it has attached that bead, and as you can see, you're looking at the hole. So I'll do another one. You add your bead first before you take your bite. Little bite out of each of the background and the applique piece. Wrap your thread around the needle counterclockwise and pull it. So you have this cute little edging with these beads. Now, if you're going to use a smaller bead, this is a number 6 bead. If you were going to use a smaller bead, you would probably have to use a thinner thread and a thinner needle. This needle goes through a number 6 really, really well. It would not go through a really small bead. I would have to use a beading needle. And it's hard to put a number 8 thread into a beading needle. So you would probably have to go with a beading thread or a silk thread to do it. I like a little more substantial look. That's why I use a bigger bead and a little thicker thread than just a beading thread. So I'll do one more. Take your little bite out of each. Bring your emerging thread over the top and wrap it. Pull it through. Tighten up your knot. Now when you end it, if I came all the way around here, I would want to do a knot before I end this whole circle. But basically all you have to do is just take your thread to the back to end your stitch, and you can either do a little knot on the back through your background, being careful not to come through your applique piece. You can do just a little knot and then bury your thread. The way I end my threads is I do 3 little straight stitches in the background rather than doing a knot, because I personally don't like a lot of knots on the back of my pieces, but that doesn't mean it's right or wrong. Whatever you want to do. I have never had my thread come loose by doing 3 little straight stitches and then burying my thread, and then you just cut it off so that you don't have a lot of threads on the back of your piece. Fine embroiderers love to have the back side of their pieces look as nice as the top side of their pieces. This is considered folk art, and we're also always going to have a backing, or normally have a backing to it. So if you have some threads and knots on the back of it, it's okay. Anyway, that's the coral stitch and the beaded coral stitch.